Hey guys, it's Paul here, and I've done something that I have never done before, and that is paid a bunch of money for an expensive chunk of wood to spin on the lathe. So this is a chunk of wood called Red Mallee, and this is from Australia. This is a burl cap. Red Mallee is not a large tree. They only get about 25 feet tall, about a foot in diameter. But they're really known for these spectacular burls. And I've seen a few bowls out there turned, and I just couldn't resist, and I had to give it a try. So honestly, I'm a little bit nervous about this, because one little slip of the hand and there goes $70 down the drain. So I'm gonna take my time and do my best with this chunk of wood. You'll see that I'm gonna try to do a live edge rim on it with an emerging bowl coming out of that. And I'll do my best to keep everything intact. Now, one thing that I've noticed so far just in mounting this to the faceplate is this is a dense, dense piece of wood. So drilling into it to tap screws in there, smoke was coming out, and so this is going to be slow going for me relative to the domestic stuff that I usually turn: cherry, walnut, maple, oak, those sorts of things. So wish me luck, and let's have some fun with this.
We're getting started. While it felt like turning a chunk of coral, it took a little bit to get a flat surface started, and really I'm just trying to find the clean bottom on this thing where I can start to form a tenon. And I don't want to be too aggressive, because I want to keep this material as much intact as I possibly can, and really produce the largest bowl that I can out of it. So I'm really going to work through it slowly, stop a lot, and kind of check for progress to see where I'm at. And I thought it was just going to be a miserable turn as I was just starting to shape, because all the coarse texture and the bumpiness of it just was rocking me around. And but once I got through that kind of bumpy surface, I found that it sheared pretty cleanly, even though it still remained a pretty coarse material. It was more pleasant to turn once I got that sort of rough exterior scraped off of it. So alternating back and forth between push cuts and pull cuts, and really just trying to use all of the sharp edge on here. A lot of people just focus on push cuts, and then you have to sharpen twice as often. All right, after getting that bottom nice and flat, now I'm just starting to work on, again, just kind of removing most of that rough exterior. And slow going, just trying to find a line through there where I could start to shave rather than just smacking my way through it. With each pass, it got a little bit easier, a little bit easier. I got to be really careful up in there not to go too far in. I want to make sure and leave enough material so I can have a nice size wing with ample thickness. I don't want to get it too thin, and I want to make sure and leave enough material to work with on top, because I'm going to lose a little bit of height on the bowl from the top side once I flatten out the top. So I'm going to leave a ½ inch or so, and then so I'll have plenty to work with from the top side down. I'm starting to just plan a little strategy for coming into that shoulder. I want to get a nice crisp shoulder where the bowl meets the wing. And I want to make sure to not gouge too far up in when I'm riding up the bowl from the bottom. And likewise, when I'm coming in from the side, I don't want to plunge too deeply into the body of the bowl and then force my hand and require to remove a little bit more material than I want to. So I'm just being very conservative as I approach that intersection. Now, normally I'm turning green wood, and it's free. So those are two reasons that if you've seen me turn bowls before, I'm normally moving a lot faster than I am here. So this is much more conservative processing through the wood. I'm getting pretty close to the final shape that I want, so I'm taking a much lighter cut. Just kind of sneaking up on the final shape. And a lot of times when I'm turning green wood, I'll take such a heavy cut just because it's fun to do that. And, I'll take 5/8 inch thick cut passes on a green bowl. Now this, you can see me just, 1/8 inch at a pass, give or take. All right, there I've cut the tenon. And normally on a bowl that's not very tall or deep like this one, I would do a recess, but I decided to do a tenon here just because I want to get the maximum holding power on that bowl. And I know it's an often debated topic. I've heard turners say that they can get just as good or better of a bite using a compression fit from the inside in a recess. I feel more confident with a tenon. And so that's what I'm doing here. The only reason is because this is an expensive piece of wood, and I just want every advantage I can when holding on to that chunk of wood. All right, nice test fit of the tenon before I remove it from the machine. Oh, yeah, I'm not ready to remove it yet. Actually, just in the process now of doing some final shaping, smoothing out that bottom. So I didn't want to have a big wide flat spot there. I want to have that nice smooth transition from the base of the bowl. So I'm going to have a tiny little base there, as you can see, and this is really going to just be a decorative bowl. I would hesitate to call it an art piece because I'm not an artist, so I'll just call it a decorative bowl. And so I just want to make that transition round rather than a flat spot on the bottom that I would then remove the tenon and use that flat spot as the base. What I'll do here, and you'll see me at the end, I will actually turn that tenon into the base, and I'll just round it over and put some decorative beading on it and so forth. But you can start to see the shape emerging and the nice color of that red Mallee. And now I'm just, to accelerate the cleanup process, I'm hitting it with a negative rake scraper as much as possible. This is what I call the eraser tool. Just removes all those tool lines, and then hitting it with my squishy sanding disc on a angle drill. And man, that just works so great to clean that up quickly. And I use it a little bit with the bowl spinning and a little bit with it still. And man, that just really speeds up the sanding process, especially on a wood that's as dense as this. All right, now I've got it mounted up in the chuck. Flip it around. I'm going to just face it off here to get a nice flat spot to work with as a starting point. And you can hear it's fighting me a little bit. It's so rough until I get a smooth surface to start turning on. It's kind of gnarly. So as I make a little progress, now it starts to go easier. And like I said, once I get a smooth surface, it's a nice shearing wood. It really, no tear out to speak of as long as I'm doing everything correctly. It cooperates pretty well as long as I'm, patient, not going too quick. And because this is a winged bowl with such a pronounced wing, even though it's not huge, it was still preventing me from spinning that thing as fast as I would have liked. Normally a bowl that size, I'd probably be up around, by the time I'm at this point, I'd be up around 1,500 RPM. And I don't think I ever got it much above maybe 850 or so, just because of the lopsidedness of the bowl. Even on a good-sized lathe, this is a Laguna 2436. Probably, I guess, 600-pound range with the accessories that I have on there. It would still get it hopping a little bit if I tried to go too fast. So, plus on a bowl this size, there's really no reason to go that fast. I'm not in a hurry. This is a specialty piece, so just want to take my time on it. All right, here I'm forming the rim on the top, and look at all the air that I'm turning there. I mean, this piece is so lopsided that I'm coming in just super slowly and gently because I'm turning way more air than wood there, and you can just hear it tick, 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 tick. That's a exercise in patience, and you just got to really take your time. Now, I'm going to learn a little bit of a lesson very quickly here on sharp tools and red Mallee. So it's interesting to watch this now as I know what happened. So right there, I had a catch, and it took me across.
Too dull. Holy smokes! All right, all sharpened up now. Let's see if I can get a better bead on here.
It jumped me right across and tore up the bead, so I had to cut a fresh bead on here. And unfortunately, right here, my battery died in the camera. So trust me, that bead came out really nice, and was happy with it. And you can see now it's just cutting so much better with a fresh edge on that bowl gouge. Also, I should mention I'm using a 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Normally, on most bowls, I use a 5/8 inch. I'd say 95% of the time I'm using a 5/8 inch gouge. But I used my 1/2-inch Thompson the whole time on here because I wanted to have a little bit more finesse coming in on that natural edge, way out of balance rim. And it made a nice difference. I felt much more control and finesse with that slightly smaller bowl gouge. So small bowl like that, I think it's a good way to go. Now just kind of patiently removing the material from the inside of that bowl. And I was able to get it pretty thin, and I wasn't trying for super thin, but pretty consistent, kind of 3/8 inch probably wall thickness, something like that, which is probably actually a little on the thick side for a small bowl like this. But I didn't want to do anything heroic on this bowl. I wanted to really just end up with a nice bowl. I would have cried if that thing would have exploded on me. And just being my first time working with this material, not that familiar with it, and I just wanted to play it safe. And just hitting it with a little bit more sanding with that angled drill. All right, here I've got it mounted on the vacuum chuck and just kind of cleaning up the bottom, dressing it up a little bit. I like to do that on bowls. That vacuum chuck just really pays dividends. I love having that thing. I've got the frugal chuck system. I should really do a video on that. All right, now I'm just hitting it with some finish. I used a coat of Danish oil and then a couple coats of polyurethane, and it came out really nice.
All right, well, that wraps it up. I gotta admit, I am really super pleased with this. This exceeds my expectations. I feel like I got pretty lucky throughout, had no mishaps along the way. The only kind of scary moment was when the gouge was just skipping across when I was trying to scoop out, and I found that thing was so dull. So I should have known to revisit the sharpening station more. But normally on a small bowl like that, I might sharpen maybe none. After sharpening it once up front, I could probably do a bowl like that. I sharpened 3 or 4 times during the course of this, so that's a lot of sharpening for such a small bowl, but really paid off in the end. One thing that I would also point out is on these emerging bowls where you've got sort of this wild wing coming off, I really like to get a crisp detail on the corner of that bowl where the rim is protruding. If it's mushy and just kind of blends into the wing, I think it looks terrible. And I have done a couple like that. So I can tell you from experience, I look back on those now and I really regret it. So anyway, hope you'll give this Mallee a try. This is really fun wood to work with. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. I am as responsive as I can be to answering questions and helping any of you guys out if you want to give this a try. With that, thanks for watching. I hope you'll subscribe and come back to the Tool Metrics channel for more wood turning, woodworking, DIY related videos, and who knows what else. Thanks again. Take care.